being chased, thrown on the run, and it is caught. Touchdown, Keenan Allen. What a grab.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. That's the warrior spirit right there, boy.
Huge sack by Joey Bosa.
90-yard touchdown. 90-yard touchdown.
It's going to be picked off at the 8-yard line by Derwin James.
Herbert sets his feet, takes a shot downfield, has Knighton. Caught! Touchdown, Chargers!
That's the greatest throw I've ever seen.
Oh, winning's good, baby. Yes, hello, welcome to the Thunder Down Under Chargers Football Podcast. Andy here, your host, joined by Jack and Alistair. Boys, what a cheeky finish. What a relief. What an experience. Right up there, I tell you. Alistair, how are you, mate? Almost 1 week away from your big day. How are you feeling?
You're throwing to me first. Oh, wow.
Just thought I'd change it up.
It must be my wedding coming up. Yeah, I'm going great, mate. It's we were that close, actually, on Monday. To the listeners, Andy and I were watching the game together at my house, and I'll use an Aussie colloquialism. We were a bee's dick away from the season being completely over. And sadness and darkness and, oh, God, we've got to find a way to do podcasts despite losing games. But we won. And that's all that matters. No one remembers how you win. We won the game. And it felt fantastic. So let's let the good vibes continue on into next week, into Raiders week, FTR, into my wedding next Friday. And let's just bring some positivity for the next few weeks, boys.
Love it. Absolutely. Jack, how are you doing, mate? Fresh off a little wine bottling experience.
Yeah, among my many hats at school, one of those is being the Pulteney wine, spirit and beer brewing. So we made a Pulteney sparkling ale and we made 4 different types of wine. So yeah, it was a lot of work, but we got there in the end. And I can also say that no pillows were harmed this week. So I don't have to appear in court for any fresh cases of grievous bodily pillow. It was a good win. I managed to watch it at school because I've had a very, very busy week. I'm not sure if I should say that on air, in case my line managers are listening. Highly doubtful. Really good, really, really good, and fantastic to get the win and very positive. Feeling very good.
Yeah, look, lots to chew through after the road win in Arizona. Fantastic stuff. A little tribute sort of segment from us in between that and the preview for the Dirty, Dirty Raiders. FTR, the matchup in week 13 that is upon us. Just quickly, if you're new to the show, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Guys, if you've been with us for a while, we appreciate you. Don't forget to give the channel on YouTube a like and the video a like and subscribe and give us a review and a rating on the audios. Alrighty. Los Angeles Chargers 25, Arizona Cardinals 24. Oh, gee. It was another slow start for the Bolts. Costly sacks on back-to-back third downs surrendered any hope of early scoreboard pressure. If not for Derwin James' forced fumble, that 10-0 lead Arizona mustered could have easily been far more. Bulk yards available through the air for the Cards, and no sign of limiting James Conner or Murray on the ground. Off the back of a Matt Prater field goal, Herbert then goes 7 of 8 for 60 yards. The drive capped off with Keenan Allen's first TD of the year and the Chargers' first of the day. The team's second coming just 4 minutes later. Derwin's at it again, this time intercepting Kyler Murray on what I guess social media crowned he shouldn't have caught interception on 4th and 1. Herbert feeling himself 5 for 5 for 56 yards on the next series. Hello, Mr. Carter. All alone for a 33-yard tutty. 14-10, feeling a little bit better, mate. We were feeling a little bit better on the couch. Alas, the lead was short-lived. Arizona, Murray using his legs more and more. Chargers D failing to make a stop on any of 3 third-down situations. Kyler himself scrambles in for a tutty, down 17-14 at the half. Arizona came out trying to run it down the Chargers' throats. It looked worrisome on the first few plays, but the Chargers corrected. Cliff Kingsbury was doing his best effort to not win the game. He sent Matt Prater out for a 49-yard attempt on 4th and 4. No good! Herbert amassed 18 consecutive completions, but a red zone stumble kept the Chargers to a field goal. It was more soft failures on third down defense as the third quarter trickled into the fourth. Kyler Murray connecting with James Conner, putting the home side up by 7. From there out, the Bolts D was near perfect, allowing just 16 total yards on 3 consecutive 3-and-outs. However, it was the offense now stuttering its way into the dying stages. It took 3 of their own 3 punts of their own before Clutch Herbert put together a phenomenal 2-minute drill to connect with Austin Eckler. 23-25. Enter the Devil Horns. 2-point Staley time. Herbert to Everett. 0:15 left on the clock. Chargers get the win in true Chargers fashion. Way closer than it has to be. Anxiety-inducing football, but we did it. Road win, 6-5. Put the Cardinals in the bin. Justin Herbert goes 35 of 47 at 74.5%. 274 yards, 3 TDs, and notably 0 interceptions. Whoa! Jack, mate, you took the words out of my mouth with the pillow comment, but how were you going in the finishing of this one?
Surprisingly calm. I mean, you do have to keep the lid on a little bit when you're sitting in an office with 4 or 5 other teachers, and they don't really want to see a grown man screaming up and down, jumping up and down, and making the whole floor shake. So I was decidedly calm. I thought the 2-point call was a good decision. The not going forward on the 4th and 7, I didn't think was a particularly good decision. But I just wanted to start, and I said it in the show last week. One of the most important parts of the Chargers this season, let's not talk and focus on the defense or the offense and Lombardi and Staley. Let's just talk about Ryan Ficken, whatever the fuck his name is. But Ryan Ficken is doing an incredible job. And I'm going to say that if it wasn't for some of those punts and that coverage, I'm going to say that this game goes in a different way. So well done, special teams. It's one of the best special teams in the league. We're in top 5 in a lot of those categories. So well done. Awesome team win, and God, we're just finding ways to get the job done. Awesome stuff.
It was one of those bring your own energy games, right? Because you're playing in Arizona, and it's 4 p.m. time slot. Not a lot of people watching it necessarily, and you just get stressed that it's going to be one of these slow starts. And unfortunately, that's what happened. It's one of these things that we've had to grapple with, that we're finding ourselves in holes early. But then we're finding our ways to dig ourselves out of the hole every single time and winning. So you're kind of left, and we'll get through it. We'll go through this like we do every week. You talk about this, that, and the other thing that didn't work, and then you're looking at the end of the game and you go, oh, we won the game. And now we're 6-5. So there's some kind of strength, or call it ability or belief or spirit within this Chargers football team. And I think, like you say, Jack, it definitely starts with special teams, because if that was a bottom of the league unit, we'd be losing these close games, wouldn't we? We'd be finding ways to have a punt block or miss a field goal or just fumble a return, and we're actually picking up extra possessions or extra yardage through, I think, didn't they say we were the number 1 punt return coverage unit in the league during the telecast? So yeah. I'm happy to start there with special teams as my initial observation too. It's just the hidden yardage that traditionally good teams and well-coached teams excel in, and it's very welcome that it's the Chargers team that are doing that.
Oh, absolutely. I was blown away when I heard I think Trent Green say the 15-yard return on that punt was the longest that we'd surrendered for the year. I was like, after 12 weeks, that's all you got against us. That's awesome. We don't have to worry about it. I think you said as well, Dustin who? I don't want to see him in the building again. Like, yeah, I remember you were getting the beers. I don't want to see Dustin Hopkins again. Why? Why fix it?
Stick of the kicker.
Stick of the kicker, baby. I'm all about special teams. It was such a worry point for years and years. Like, we were always just going to lose games on special teams. And now I feel so secure with it. I feel comfortable. Like a down dooner. Safe, that's right.
It's just so different, isn't it, when you punt it and you pin them within their own 20. All of a sudden there's a sack and they're on their own 3. The difference in the quarterbacks and the coaches and the whole opposition, lining up at the 3, it's just so different. It's just so different. Rather than sort of either a 25-yarder, you take a 10-yard sack, you're at the 15, you still got a bit of space, but pinning them in their own 15 without much behind them, it just changes it completely. I think from a play calling perspective, from a pressure perspective, and we saw that come to fruition, which I think was just fantastic.
It looks like Justin Herbert's back too. I mean, he's taking off and scrambling more than he's ever done before, and you just feel like if he's capable of playing at that level, we're in every game. It doesn't matter, and we've seen it, right? It doesn't matter if we play the Chiefs or the Niners or the bad teams. We're in every game with this guy. And with Keenan back, which is just exciting to see. He didn't necessarily have a big game, but it's another game where he hasn't hurt himself, which is promising. I really love seeing him back and kind of feeling himself. And he had to do a lot. He had to do a lot this week because even though looking at certain grading, our offensive lines seem to have done all right. Watching the game a couple of times, they didn't play that well. The Cardinals got a lot of pressure on us. They showed a lot of looks. Herbert was getting the ball out of his hands with anticipation. There were a few that he threw to Keenan before he'd even broken out of his route. A lot of dump-offs to running backs again, right? It was kind of like 15 targets to Eckler kind of thing. So that also speaks to the pass rush that the Cards were able to get onto us. So I don't know. Not everything's right, but we come away with the victory. And, that's some stuff that's standing out to me early on. Andy, what are any kind of like positive takeaways for the game from your perspective?
Keenan Allen was a massive one for me. I'll dodge that one. I guess I'll jump onto the defensive side of the ball, and we spoke about this. Noticed it during the game. Aloe Gilman seems to be improving quite nicely. Led the team in tackles with Drew Tranquil, 7 apiece. Probably his best game so far, I think. He did almost cost the team with that sort of silly sling tackle at the start. We both kind of got up and thought, that's almost 15 yards, brother.
Yeah.
But yeah, made some good plays in the open field, which is kind of good. It's nice to see. I mean, we've sort of seen a bit of a wave form of Nas Adderley's form, and he's kind of in that low trough or heading that way, trending downwards, as you would say, I guess. So it's good to see that we can get some actual deeper defenders playing in the safety, because realistically, Derwin's better when he's in the box. When he's stuffing the run, when he's pressuring the quarterback, when he's working on the intermediates with the bigger tight ends, Travis Kelce, that sort of stuff. You need someone that you can have at the back, especially with the scheme that Staley operates with. And look, JT Woods, that effort on the tackle, not great. But look, we'll keep it to the positive. So Jack, I'll move it along to you, mate.
I think the defense, this is a bit of a positive and maybe a bit of a negative, but I think we maybe just need to resign ourselves to the fact that we're gonna leak the run, and we're just gonna have to find ways to turn the ball over. And Derwin James, clearly Derwent, whatever his name is, let's just call him Legend. Because he's the guy that's going to do it, right? He's the guy that's going to get it. So will it be a bend and don't break? I think it's going to be, especially against a Raiders team this week that's going to run the ball down our throats. We probably just need to work on our edges. But let's get, as you said, Andy, let's get Derwin around the ball. Joey Bosa's coming back soon. That's going to improve our edge defense and run defense, hopefully. Let's just get these guys. Let's just put pressure on the quarterback. Let's just try and turn this ball over, because I think that's the way we're going to get wins. It's not going to be a dominant defense. Mind you, those last 3 series from against the Cardinals, geez, I tell you what, they were schemed beautifully. Staley won the Sean Payton Bowl there, so looks like Cliff Kingsbury might be actually falling off a cliff. And
or did Arizona win the Sean Payton Bowl there?
Yeah, whichever way you want to look at it, who knows? But so no, that's
exploring that, Jack, because I find that very interesting. I've been thinking about the run defense thing quite a bit, and the yuck stat that Daniel Popper from The Athletic posted was that right now the Chargers defense is allowing 5.33 yards per carry on designed rushes. That's the worst average for any defense in the NFL since 2000. So 734th out of 734 teams. But exploring that, part of it's by design and part of it's not. So I think the part that's not is you've got Morgan Fox and Kyle Van Noy on the field on early downs when both of them are really specialist pass rushers, and they're having to do the dirty work, and it's showing with gashes up the middle. But don't forget, Chargers fans and listeners, that part of the Staley scheme invites the run deliberately. Staley says it all the time. He says, a 40-yard pass is 8 5-yard runs. And it's the Fangio scheme, it's the cover 2 scheme. And you can focus on this game and say, well, the Cardinals had 181 rush yards. What the hell's going on? Well, do you know what? Kyler Murray had 191 passing yards. So if you look at the total yardage for the game, Cardinals have 366. A bit more than you'd like, but you can live with it. I don't think we've quite struck the balance yet, because you don't want to be such a sieve that it's actually it's good for the opponents to be running the ball because they're getting first downs, right? But I think there's an interesting discussion there. What do you reckon, Jack? It's not that bad, right?
No, I don't think it is. And I had a look at, there's a really good Instagram account I follow. For the life of me, I can't remember who it is, but I think it's called Chargers Pulse. And they put up a really interesting stat. So if you look at James Conner's 24 designed runs, running everywhere else other than at the left end, which allowed 10.5 yards on attempt and 63 yards on 6 attempts. The rest are all, you've got running at the left guard, 2.3, running at the middle left, middle right, averaging 1 and 3.8. So they're all under 5. It's just these huge gashing runs that we get popping to the outside. Yeah. So I did allude to it or connect to it earlier that Joey Bosa coming back might change that quite decidedly. So if you look at what Connor's attempted, you'd say that we've done pretty well. It's just busting those runs outside that we just can't seem to stop every week.
Yeah, we sort of ebbed and flowed with the containment of Kyler. He sort of got away from us, and then we got him back at the end. He was pretty damaging. And when I think about runs out to the left, I think of Kenneth Murray coming in and just being drawn straight into a blocker, and like whatever protection that you've got from the middle of the field is just gone. And you've got Aloe Gilman making tackles 15, 20 yards past the line of scrimmage. Crazy.
To be honest, Tranquil does it as well. I mean, watching, when you look at the behind the quarterback vision, it's hard to know. We're not, we didn't play football. There are times where the linebacker looks like, I see what they're thinking. They're thinking, I better clog in this hole in case he breaks inside. And then those are always the ones where they break outside and you go, oh, where's my linebacker? But then other times the linebacker goes outside and they're the ones that go inside. It's maybe an instinctual issue that they're not reading it.
There was this play in the first quarter, and sorry, listeners, this has just come off the top of the dome. But Kyler Murray went to a hard count, and it was a run out to the left that eventuated by Connor bursting out the outside. Murray looked like he was trying to either fill the A or B gap, but he was rushing it. So Murray did a hard count. Murray rushed, and then they went, oh, there's the linebackers coming to fill this hole. Surely, though, you're thinking that you've shown your hand. You know that's what's going to happen. Surely you go, all right, so I've just gotten... I've just shown my hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show something different. Is that what a middle linebacker needs to do? As you said, Alistair, we didn't play football, so I don't know the decision tree that goes on and what the coach might say. Surely you think about it if you're Kenneth Murray and go, hold on, I've just shown my hand. What I will do is I'm going to block the outside now because I've already shown that I'm going to block the B gap. I don't know.
We're seeing that it's very hard to play that position in this sport. It's so hard. Because then there were other times I was watching where I go, oh, Murray, why did you hesitate? When you look at Kyler Murray kind of scrambling off and he's playing the spy and he's just kind of waiting in coverage. And maybe, it's a very instinctive position, unlike any on the field. And it looks like at the moment we're kind of surviving with... let's say middling to, in Tranquil's case, just above average linebacker play. I keep thinking, had we secured a Roquan Smith or, a really good linebacker, I'd love to see this defense with a really good linebacker in it. And I don't know if we're ever going to see it because we've learned that if you draft linebackers early, the hit rate's terrible over the last 5 years. It takes a long time to learn the position. But then no one wants to pay $15 million a year for a linebacker either because they don't think it's a high value position. So it looks like it's going to be Murray, Tranquil, next year, who knows, maybe a bit of Troy Reader. But secondary played well, I thought. I thought Michael Davis had an outstanding game for a guy who apparently hurt his knee on the final walkthrough practice and maybe didn't play. He had 2 pass breakups, he had a sack. He only gave up 36 yards in coverage. I thought he had a fantastic game. And Andy, I'll repeat what you said. Alohi Gilman played the best game of his career. Comfortably. Like, apart from that one near penalty, I mean, that coverage play he had right at the end of the game was critical, where he forced the incomplete pass. And he was tackling really well. So a lot of open field tackles. So it never hurts to have, more defensive backs up your sleeve. And we haven't even had to go to your Jasir Taylors and Dean Leonard. So when Adderley's right to go, maybe he doesn't even start. So it's a good problem to have, I think.
Well, we had Raheem Lane active as well, did we not?
Yep, he did. He played really well in special teams.
Yeah, so we've got plenty of them. Just back to Troy Reader, one snap. I would have thought that's a bit rough after the week he had last week.
John Spanos, I reckon.
Yeah, there's some stuff happening up top there. Play the first rounder. Play him.
Yeah, crazy. It's just dumb.
Some kind of goblin up in the owner's box. I like it.
Look, I don't know whose fault it was that Kenneth Murray ended up on Hopkins for that opening touchdown. He blew the shit out of that tackle on James Conner in the fourth quarter for his touchdown. And I just don't think he should be in charge of that, being that spy. He gets sucked into fakes and, just eaten by blockers. It's a real issue. Al, I've got a question for you. Do you see it as a good or a bad thing that we're not hearing Zont's name called that much? We spoke a little bit about it when we were watching the telecast. Couple of quiet games. Can't be too bad for a defensive back. What are you seeing from him so far in his second season?
Quiet's good for a defensive back. So he gave up one catch for the entire game. Targeted twice, gave up one catch for 5 yards. I'll take that. It wasn't clear who he was playing on as much because Hopkins was on Mike Davis quite a bit. Callahan actually got Hollywood Brown quite a lot. So I think it was like AJ Green, Robbie Anderson who weren't getting the targets. Yeah. So look, that happens. Asante's still a young cornerback. He's been up. He's had moments. He's missed opportunities to steal possessions with turnovers. If I had to guess at this stage of his career, I kind of feel like his ceiling is being a really good CB2. And that's okay for a second round pick. I just don't think he quite has the athletic traits, perhaps, to be a shutdown corner. He's undersized. He's not super fast, but he's got a good nose for the ball and he's a willing tackler and he's got all that attitude. So I'm really glad he's on the team and I think he's trending in the right direction, but he's not a difference maker by any stretch.
Well, the signing of JC Jackson would probably lend itself to say that that's what the organisation thinks as well. They're probably not signing JC Jackson if they believe that Zont's going to be, a number one CB in the future. But I mean, he's playing well. If he's not being targeted, the one time that he's targeted, he only leaves it for 5 yards, which is great. Yep. Andy, this is just a question for you. Why are we missing so many tackles? That's a rhetorical one, but this is a more direct one. Are we physically strong enough across the board? Are we actually strong enough? Because our tackling grades for the season says that we're not, and the way that we're missing so many tackles suggests that we're not. Are we built for defending speed? And that's why these like James Conner, who is not a top tier running back, made us look like little boys. What's going on?
Look, I can't attest to the strength of these individuals. They look jacked as shit, so I'd say they're strong enough.
Especially Kenny Murray.
Yeah, anything from me is just I guess in his case a spatial awareness issue, but the angles that they take tackles at, so the way that you approach the oncoming player, where they go for them, like I'm seeing like Nas Adderley diving in with his shoulder at their feet. I'm like, that can't be an effective way to tackle. So I don't know. Are they maybe not being coached the right way? Is it traits that they've had in the past? But these are traits that they've been drafted for, allegedly. So it's a good question, mate. But I think it's just the way that they go about it. It doesn't seem like it's It's not an effective way. Clearly, it's not an effective way of doing it. I don't know how to compare to the best tacklers in the league, but we ain't got them, and that's that. Al, do you have anything to add to that? Are you some kind of tackler?
You've handballed it to me. That's a toughie. Like, what are you meant to say? I mean,
I don't know. In case you just had some kind of bizarre expert opinion.
Not really. I mean, I'd only say that these days you're looking for fast hybrid athletes and maybe somewhat undersized compared to days of yore where you've got these fantastic tacklers. And if you couple that with the fact that players aren't allowed to practice as much as they used to, tackling is a skill. And like any skill, repetition helps. And they're not allowed to really do it that much in the preseason. So that's why you have these guys like JT Woods come into the league with a tackling deficiency. It's really hard to get better at that during the season when you're not really allowed to practice it. So I don't know. That's just something that came to me then, which is, who knows?
No, you're right. That's a really good point. It's such an odd paradox. Such an important part of the game has, I guess, rightfully been minimised to a point for the health and safety aspect of it. Just get more of those Guardian helmets.
I think that's a really good point, Andy, because the game's at a crossroads, right? We talked a couple of weeks ago about the concussion rule, and I think, Alistair, that was when you and I did the duo. The game is at a crossroads in terms of how to tackle. Like, even leading with your shoulder, trying to bump the ball out, you're going to go helmet to helmet. You know, you stick your arm out to a guy that's 260 odd pounds or 200, let's say 210, 220, running full speed. Your arms, you're going to rip your arm out of your socket. So what do you do? And it's just taking good angles. But when you sign guys like JT Woods and I mean, he's not a physical specimen, so I would have loved someone like Kyle Hamilton there, but someone like Derwin James, there's a guy that knows how to tackle. And is that just a philosophy thing because the guy's an absolute dog? Or is it a determination thing, or is it actually a technique thing? Who knows? That was just a rhetorical question.
He's just an alien, I think.
He's
6'3" and runs like the Dickens. Oh, Andy, I want to check on your mental health.
Runs like the Dickens.
Yeah, sorry. Were you okay? Were you okay seeing Steven Anderson wearing a Cardinals uniform out there with McKitty wearing a Chargers one? Just need to check in on you, mate.
Oh, Trey McKitty. If he's not running into like the pulling blocker, he's costing us a much-needed first down. Get that guy off the goddamn field. Like, we had Stone Smart in for a little bit. Trey McKitty, it was a bad pick. We didn't like it then. Don't hate it now. No redeeming features. And yeah, I had forgotten until they called his name, and I was like, oh, Steven Anderson. Oh, I miss him.
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, there was a bit of a. I'm okay. We won. But
Yeah.
Speaking of tight ends, Alistair, here we go. Is Gerald Everett a more important piece to Herbert than Mike Williams?
No. I don't think he's more important. But it's great to have a blanket over the middle. I mean, why I paused there was because I think it could be more important where you have an offensive coordinator who's actually capable of getting separation, right? Whereas in this particular scheme, throwing jump balls to Mike Williams is actually kind of important. A lot of the time, Herbert's like, no one's open.
Where am I going? Okay.
There's Mike. So that's my thinking why Mike's actually probably quite important in this particular scheme as the X receiver. Remember all that talk about Mike is the X, but
Okay,
hey,
then.
But on that one, Everett's key play of the season really was. Why do we talk about the 2-point conversion?
I think we have to talk about the 2-point conversion.
Especially when all the talk is Lombardi's a bit conservative and blah, 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 blah. Well, what was that? That was very similar to the stick flat concept that was run at the goal line against the Kansas City Chiefs that led in a 99-yard pick six. This time, breaks inside. Doesn't it make a difference when Keenan draws two defenders with him?
And Eckler takes the linebacker as well.
Orbit motion.
See ya.
Poor Isaiah Simmons was just stuck. He looked like Andy on the dance floor, not moving at all. And
That's rough.
Everett just moves straight through training style. Well, we're talking about lack of spatial awareness before, and I was thinking about me on the dance floor, so, I'm trying to deflect. So and that
I
was
got
just
moves.
that was easy as anything. That was easy as anything. It was
beautiful.
great. What did you think of Lombardi generally in this one, Jack? I mean, we put up 25 points against a defense that's not very good. What do you reckon?
Well, that was my second. My second question was actually going to ask you, did Joe Lombardi do enough to keep the Wolves at bay? I think he probably did. The way that he just refused to almost run on every first down. There was a couple of times where we ran on first and second down, but it was just play action, go. Play action, go. A lot of checkdowns, a lot of targets to Eckler. Oh God, if Eckler ever gets injured, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what the check down is for Herbert then. Maybe it's Gerald Everett. 25 points on a pretty average to low defense. Still probably not good enough, especially because Herbert is playing really well.
Yeah.
I would love to see more design runs. I'm not sure how far this offense can take Justin Herbert, even when it's clicking really well. I mean, last year, perhaps you could suggest that it does because we were one of the highest scoring offenses in the league. Year to year, though, is it creative enough for Herbert to grow as a player? Or is it just going to be Drew Brees, chick, dink and dunk, 20, 10, 5, and maybe a long ball every time? I just don't know if the actual offense itself is good enough for modern day football. And that's a pretty big statement to make. I just don't think it's creative enough.
Not when your defense is ranked whatever we are, the 30th in the league. Maybe if the defense was good as well, that would be fine. But we're not really optimising or maximising Herbert's strengths.
We need to score points. We just need to score points. That's what it is. And the offensive coordinator needs to scheme. It can't rely on players. It can't rely on Keenan Allen always getting open because he's just such an efficient route runner. It can't rely on Mike Williams always getting a jump ball because he's just a physical specimen. It can't rely on Eckler missing 1, 2, 3 tackles for a 15-yard game. You need to actually scheme players open. I just don't know if the offense is creative enough to allow
I'm
it.
starting to see it a little bit more, and I said it last week. I think that it's more easily achievable for the offense with Keenan because he does so much without the ball that helps the other guys. So I was okay with the way that we started. Things just sort of didn't work. We had a nice 7-yard run to start the game. I didn't mind the sort of more conservative scripted approach than we went with against KC, even though it didn't pan out. It was just really annoying that our defense, bar Derwin James, started so flat. And it made it really hard. I'm so fed up of watching 0-10 leads or deficits. And then having to just play clutch football and everyone go, oh, yeah. It's like, well, why couldn't we just play better than shit for the whole game and we wouldn't have had this problem?
Well, the trenches stuff is going really poorly at the moment, right?
Yeah, that's a total shit show.
We can't pressure the quarterback. We can't stop the run up front. On offense, we're not pass protecting very well, and our run blocking is abysmal. So it's skill positions and defensive backs. That's this team, which does not probably augur well for the rest of the season. Just a quick little aside of something funny that I noticed, and I wonder if you picked it up. Did you notice they said one of the Cardinals players' names was Andre Bocellia?
Yeah. Yeah, Andre Bocelli.
Mate, he should be in the locker room after the game singing a Cliff Kingsbury, time to say goodbye. They're fucked. The Cardinals are fucked. Did you hear Kyler Murray come out after the game? What did he say again, Jack?
Schematically, we're fucked. Schematically, we're fucked. He said it on live TV. And just
what is going on? What's going on with that team?
Whoa.
He's not doing his homework.
Jesus. So impressed. You said it before. So impressed we kept that receiving group and that capable quarterback to 190 yards in the air. And when you put it that way, would you rather a series of 5-yard runs? Yeah, probably would. Considering where we're at, our strength is in our secondary, on the defense at the moment, and I'm okay with it. It's how it's got to be so we don't just get blown up all the time.
Well, the thinking is if they do that, you will make a mistake along the way. So it's frustrating to watch, but you think a lot of 5-yard runs gives you a chance of a Derwin James force fumble, out pops the ball, turnover. God, what a game he had. Forced fumble and interception in the same one. God, that was
And just
good.
on that interception, I mentioned in my little rundown of the game that there was a bit of like, oh, he shouldn't have caught it. Of course, if
someone
he'd
clarify
batted it
that?
down, if he'd
I
batted
think I
it down,
said
it
it,
would have
Andy,
been.
on the live watch. So
Oh, oh,
Trent
we
Green
did
said
talk
it,
about that, but
yeah.
it's been flashing about. If he'd obviously batted the ball down, it would have been an incompletion, and we would have taken over at the 34-yard line or whatever it was. Instead, we end up 20 yards back because he's actually caught the ball and there's a dead ball spot. But how is he going to bat that ball down? He's got
and decide that in his head, right?
incredibly acrobatic.
And Hopkins grabs an acrobatic catch, and everyone's going, "Why didn't you just intercept it?"
Yeah, absolutely agree. Like, Trent Green is not the most erudite colour commentator in the NFL. That's all right. He wasn't that good a quarterback either. But I know they train you that on fourth down you don't want to intercept the ball unless you can take it home for a score. Makes sense, right? Because you start wherever the line of scrimmage is. But in that scenario, you can't expect the player to go through all of those decisions when he's trying to primarily stop him catching the ball. And what's he going to do?
Scoring over the top, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Oh, well.
And also, it's good to just
And
pick
he
off
had,
a quarterback. It's just good to pick him off.
Stats Pro Bowl, mate. INTs.
Yeah, and just go stick it
Get
to
paid.
him. Fuck off. I just picked you. Fuck
He
off.
got paid, man.
Yep.
He got paid.
Yep.
God. Onto the offensive line, I think, just quickly, Salia had a bit of coming back down to earth. JJ Watt showed him a good time with a couple of sacks. They just had an ability to get home a lot more, the Cards.
Jack's boy
than we
did well too.
Yeah, Zach
Allen.
He was about. We're getting.
He's got a
we're
good
getting
eye for
pressures.
talent, that Jack. He knows what he's watching.
Knows his stuff.
Well, you know who doesn't have a good eye is Will Clapp picking up a zero blitz. No idea.
Straight
Absolutely
through to the
no
keeper,
clue.
yep.
Yeah, straight through.
Hey, but on that one, that's a Jack's teachable moment. Herbie, you can't take a sack with 3 minutes left in the game on a 3rd and 7 when you're down by 7 points at the Arizona 35. He took a 13-yard sack there. You need to know the rules, right? There were more blitzes because they sent the house. They went an all-out blitz. More blitzes than protectors. So as a quarterback, you're supposed to know, I'm hot, I've got to get it out. And looking at it, it didn't look like there was a hot route, but you've just got to throw it at the feet of a receiver. And see, he looked like Zach Wilson. He ran back 13 yards and ate it.
Yeah.
Worst moment of the game for him. The only bad one. Learning experience.
Was he under center or was he in the shotgun there?
Can't remember off the top of my head, mate.
Because I'm just thinking if he's under center, that makes maybe a little more sense. No,
Shotgun.
he wasn't.
Yeah,
He must
I
have
reckon
been
it was
shotgun.
shotgun. He was
Yeah,
shotgun.
he was in shotgun. Yeah.
Simmons just blew straight up. But yeah, you got to throw that away. But that's a learning curve. He doesn't seem to make the same mistake twice.
Well put.
Hope.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
boys, anything further on the game before we move along?
For me, again, a little bit of offensive line. We noted in our group chat together, but losing Frank Smith, who is a New Orleans coach on that offensive line, has severely limited, I think, a lot of the production, a lot of the younger players. Yes, we're playing 3rd and 4th stringers, but Brandon Nugent, I'm not sure if he's going to stick around for that long. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Pretty tough given the cattle that are not playing, but yeah.
Well, actually, on that,
Come
Jack,
back,
while
please.
you're talking about the younger players and their development, I did have a question for you, just relating to Zion Johnson. He started off like he was shot out of a cannon, and he's sort of in the last 4 to 6 weeks, he's come down to earth a little bit. Do you see there to be any relation to that was his benchmark talent, and that's how he came out of college, and he was playing like that, or he has sort of declined a bit because the league's caught up with him, or he's had more coaching influence that has maybe negatively impacted his game? Do you have any kind of impact to any thought to that?
Oh, I think it's a 5-man unit, right? And when you've got players either side of you, who it's very clear that Corey Linsley is the key to that offensive line. When Corey Linsley's playing, the guards do okay, I think. But if he's in and out, who does Zion Johnson look to leadership? It's Pipkins. All of a sudden, he goes out, and that's been a bit of a revolving door. He's going, well, what am I actually doing here? So I think there's always going to be a bump in someone like that, given the quality offensive line that we had at the start of the year. But also you get tape, right? So the more you play as a lineman or as a both offensive and defensive, people look for tendencies. People look for every time that there's a run call, what are you doing with your hands? How are you setting yourself at the line of scrimmage? And the more that happens, and the more tape and more games you play, you have to start thinking about, well, what am I? You have to study your own game and go, well, what am I actually telling? What am I actually telling the opposition when there is an outside zone run? How am I actually lining up, and what am I doing with my body? So I think that it's just natural to see an offensive lineman sort of drop off a little bit.
Yeah.
In the normal situation, I think he's done a fantastic job given both sides, either side of him, his centre and his tackle are just revolving doors. So I think he's holding up really well for a rookie.
Yeah, me too. I've got one final one, Andy, if you're interested. It's just occurred to me that a lot of, we spend so much time talking about, maximising your win probability and all the teaching and scheming and, football, and Kingsbury goes for the field goal, but Staley goes for the 2-point conversion. And yes, great. But part of the thing that makes football so beautiful to watch is there is an element that is just straight up, sheer, dumbfounded luck. Zaven Collins, is that an INT? Is that not an INT? Are they going to reverse it? Are they not going to reverse it? That moment, think about what that moment means to Brandon Staley's life and the rest of his coaching career. That moment is everything. The Chargers have just won a game in a 6-5. If we walk out of that stadium 5-6 because Collins caught that ball and runs off and we lose by 10 points, the pressure dial turns up 30 degrees Celsius, or whatever the Fahrenheit equivalent is for the US listeners. And Staley's life gets real difficult. Amy Staley's not talking to him when he gets home. The kids, they're not saying hi to dad. He's straight in the dungeon. He's watching film. It's just, sometimes it's amazing to sit back and just appreciate that little flips of the coin and happenstance and serendipity can dictate your, where you go in your life.
Sounds like he should be thankful for it.
Nice segue.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was adamant that ball hit the ground. I knew I was right. I was also right. No Sonny Michel this week. That was kind of fun to see that they go with Josh Kelly and Spiller. I mean, we gave up on the run pretty quickly. Herbert was the leading rusher, but that's okay. We did what we had to do. We got on with it, and it doesn't matter if you win 45-10 like we did against the Cards in 2018, or you win by 1 point like we did last week. A win's a win's a win in the NFL. We're 6-5. Let's get right into the next little bit. Now, we don't have Thanksgiving in Australia. And I'm a little bit peeved by it. We've got plenty of public holidays, don't get me wrong. But it seems like it's a really lovely kind of community, community-based holiday. Your family and your friends, anyone just has a lovely lunch together. It's great. So what we thought we'd do here on TDU is pay a little homage to Thanksgiving, and going around the horn, each of us are just going to list a couple of things that we're thankful for. So, Jack, get us underway.
Bit soppy. I've got a couple of soppy ones, but I have to say them. So I'm very thankful for my partner, my fiancée, Rebecca. It's been a pretty difficult year for us as a couple in multitude ways, but the strength that she's displayed is nothing short of extraordinary. So I'll always enjoy cooking good food by her side and sharing a lovely glass of wine. So I'm very lucky and thankful to be her partner. So that's my first one.
Good on you, Jack, and good on you, Beck, as well. Yeah. If you're listening, possibly. Now she will. I'm thankful for... I'll go soppy too. I'm thankful for the two of you. I am thankful. You're like, oh, we all did the same thing. I am. We have, I bet you to it. We're building something from the ground that we're passionate about and that we love. And I get a real sense of purpose and enjoyment doing this every single week with the two of you. And I'm really excited the two of you are going to be groomsmen of mine in just over a week now at my wedding. So I'm living my best life here. I'm really enjoying myself, and I'm grateful that I'm doing it with the both of you.
Good on you, mate.
Woo! Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Well, I'm grateful for having two fantastic mates to be able to share this with. As you said, Al, so much fun. It's just so much fun doing this and being able to interact with people from across the world about it.
Zimbabwe.
Real, just
Florida.
pipe dream stuff. So thank you. Thank you for all the listeners as well. I say that every week, but
Absolutely.
another soppy one. I'm thankful for my wonderful fiancée, Cash. She puts up with me and the amount of time I spend watching football relative to our weeknights spent together. So Monday to Wednesday, I'm unavailable. She's fantastic. Always cooks me dinner the night that we record and has it ready for me just before we jump in. She's super supportive and a super lady. So thank you.
I've got a couple more, but it's almost Christmas and it's a little bit of a different climate down here, down under. It's getting very cold and snowy in much of the continental United States, whereas here it's getting warm. I just think this time of year is wonderful. I love the feel. Yes, work is very stressful. Everyone's trying to get stuff done, especially at a school before the long break of sort of 6 weeks, which I'm also very thankful for. But yeah, I love it. I just can't wait. Spending my time heading off to Melbourne, chilling with my friends, my family, drinking good booze, stuffing myself silly with food. It's a fantastic time of year. I just cannot wait to work, that final day at work, and just chill, watch football, do the podcast. It'll be awesome.
Yes, hopefully games that matter too. Playoffs beckon. A quick thank you and a gratitude towards the Bolts from the Blue, because they've supported us from day one. If you look at our first couple of episodes, they all listened en masse, all getting involved. And with any kind of pastime, people come in, people go out, but we get consistent feedback and listeners from the Bolts from the Blue. Speak to a lot of them. I'm always interacting them, and I hope you never take it personally when sometimes we have robust discussions and debates. It's all great, and it's a brilliant community we've got there online. So here, and I'm thankful for the Bolts from the Blue.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, here indeed. I am thankful for DeAndre Carter. On to the football stuff. I'm thankful for DeAndre Carter. So far, I think he's my sneaky team MVP.
Yeah.
Love him.
I'm also thankful for special teams coordinator Ryan Ficken. Like I said, special teams, now not so much a worry for me. I back us to win games from special teams if we need. So thank you for just soothing one bit while everything else sort of falls to shit.
And you know what? I'm going to thank, my last one is thanking the football gods, because we've had 14 or 15 years. How long was Philip Rivers our quarterback? 14 years, was he? I can't remember off the top of the dome. Anyway, it was a long time.
18,
And Justin
17,
Herbert
16?
has... Yeah.
04.
Justin Herbert has fallen into our lap.
Yeah.
God, that doesn't happen. And if you look at all the other quarterback issues that are around the league at the moment, if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a shot at the championship. It's as simple as that. And we seem to have one that should hopefully one day take us all the way. So praise be to the football gods, and thank you for Justin Herbert and Philip Rivers.
Praise be. No, that's a nice one to end on from my perspective, so I'm all out.
Beautiful. I've got one more, and just to touch on it, such a pivotal moment of the game. I'm thankful that although I feel like the coaches were near forced, they made the right call to go for two and win the game at the end. Like you said, Al, it's chalk and cheese between being 5 and 6 in the AFC at the moment and 6 and 5, and coming into a divisional game, which we'll get into in just a sec. So, like we said, thanks everyone, thanks you guys, thanks all the people around us, and thanks some of the Chargers players.
And to my beautiful fiancée, Kirsten Lorraine Miller, you're so supportive. Sorry, I had to throw that in. Otherwise.
Yeah, that's right. Save it for next week.
Yeah.
All right.
Hopefully you get through it without crying, mate.
All right.
I've got no chance.
Oh, no chance. Zero.
Play on.
Chargers injury news. Corey Linsley is in a concussion protocol. He left the game following the Keenan Allen touchdown play. If you remember, that drive had a big pile up on a 3rd and 1, the QB sneak. And he looked like he copped a couple of accidental helmet-to-helmets just on stand-up blocks on at least 2 other plays. So you'd assume, considering he left in that second quarter, didn't return, that he probably isn't suiting up for the Raiders, which is a bit of a bloody concern.
Danger.
Trey Pipkins re-aggravated his MCL. We saw him go down. Staley says he's day to day to see how he goes. I'd imagine he'll continue to suit up and we'll just get what we can out of him.
Yeah.
He did return to the field. Interesting that they didn't suit up Storm Norton. I thought that was a bit crazy. Sorrell gave up 2 hits on his 17 snaps. So, yeah. Look, I know Storm Norton's not great, so unless he was injured, I don't think he was. Just get some more protection for Justin Herbert. That's crazy. No real update on Mike Williams or Joey Bosa. Yes, sort of still the same. All right. Raiders versus the Seahawks. God, it was delightful to watch Derek Carr throw 2 interceptions in the first quarter. Anyone would have thought it was just a free steak dinner watching this one. Geno Smith was a little error-prone himself. 2 interceptions of his own in the first half. And Josh Jacobs, holy shit. Looked awesome on that 30-yard TD run. Went into the half 21 apiece and ended up being 34 all at full time, going into overtime. Josh Jacobs on the second possession, walk-off, 86-yard touchdown. Yeah, what a day he had. 33 carries, 229 yards, 2 TDs. He also went, I think, 6 from 6 or 7 from 7, 76 yards in the air. Yeah, that stat line's a real backbone to my fear factor view on this matchup. Yeah. Derek Carr sort of turned the ship after his 2 early picks. He went 25 for 36, 295 yards, 3 TDs and 2 INTs. Devontae Adams, similar kind of receiving stats to Josh Jacobs. All happening. They're sort of starting to get a little bit of mojo, the Raiders. Look, it's going to be a sneaky tough one. Jack, what do you see as being the greatest strengths to this Raiders outfit? We know we've played them early. This is the real Week 18 rematch in Las Vegas, coming off a road win.
Well, you've kind of covered most of them. Josh Jacobs has the potential to have an even bigger day than he did against the Seahawks. Something that we didn't necessarily touch on is just the edge rushes for the Raiders. They're gonna Max Crosby I'm really worried for Justin Herbert's life, I think. So the offensive line's going to have to do as much as, or the tight end room, and the running back's going to have to do as much as they can to help out our tackles and our guards. And clearly Devontae Adams is someone you have to stop. And just the Raiders' strengths, they will want to beat us. They will really, really want to beat us because they're the fucking Raiders. And that's a strength that they have because we beat them early in the season. And as last season went, we know what happens when they need to beat us. God, it didn't end well for us. So those are just some strengths off the top of the dome.
Yeah, I mean, Adams has rounded into form very nicely. I think he's had 480 receiving yards in the last 4 games. So with the injuries they've had to a couple key players, they're just like, it's Josh Jacobs and we're going to feed the shit out of Devontae Adams, and it seems to be working for them. And then perhaps an under-the-radar strength, Jack, is their offensive line, who we've generally laughed at the last few years. Before that, they were really good, but they've definitely been bad the last few years. PFF has them graded as the 8th best pass-blocking line in the league at the moment. Not a lot of household names. I mean, Colton Miller on the left side is good, but then you've got Dylan Parham, Young, Andrew James, Alex Bars, Jermaine Illuminor. You would think that would be a terrible offensive line, but they're just getting it together as the season's developed. So, yeah, they've got a few strengths, but not too many because they haven't won a lot of games. Andy, do you want to add anything? Are you happy for me to go on to the weaknesses too?
No, for me, it's Josh Jacobs in the run game and those edge rushes against whatever we're putting up at tackle.
Yeah.
It scares me.
Yeah, well, okay, I agree. I mean, they're pretty clearly defined strengths. Their weaknesses are also quite clearly defined. The injuries have really hurt them in a couple of spots. Darren Waller, IR. Hunter Renfrow, IR. On the defense, Nate Hobbs, Devine Diablo, not playing. So they don't really have the cattle to step up at tight end. Foster Moreau's just a bit meh. So the fact that they're missing some guys they're nowhere near as dangerous as they have been in the past on offense when they're full strength. And the defense gives up a lot of points. I mean, their secondary is quite average. They don't have any star in the secondary at all. Keenan Allen should have a field day. If only you had Mike Williams, he eats up the Raiders, it would be even better. But I don't think we do. But there are at least a couple of weaknesses. Maybe I'll throw to you, to Jack, in case you've got any others in the toolkit that I've left out.
You've got Derek Carr at quarterback, which is a strength, but it's also a big weakness. Get to him early, get to him often. Make him shit his little black pants, please. Okay? Get to him. They wear black. Or do they wear silver? I don't know. Whatever. It's ones that you can't see the poo stain.
They're silver pants.
Are they silver pants, are they? Oh, well. Maybe he needs to wear black ones so he can't see the poo in his pants.
It's black lingerie. It's a black
They'll
teddy
be brown
underwear.
after Mac's done with him.
Exactly. So, Derek Carr, okay quarterback, but we know that he loves to throw a bit of a loopy long ball. Let's see if we can pick one off. Let's see if we can pick a couple off. DJ, Asante Samuel, I'm looking at you. Maybe even Tranquil. Was it last time Tranquil picked Carr off up on that seam route to Darren Waller? So
dropped into that Tampa 2 coverage. That was good. Yeah.
And Callahan too.
Yeah. Just a couple of things for me. They are allowing, I think, 69.4% in the red zone to opposition offenses, and their secondary allows 10.3 yards per completion. So tuck in. Tuck in. Keys to victory, well, we've kind of just sort of said them, really. Anything else you want to add? It's sort of, what do we do about the sort of scripted plays at the start, the way that we start games?
I think we know it on offense. We've got to take care of Max Crosby. I don't think we're going to be able to, but that's going to be an ongoing kind of nightmare. They've got linebackers who aren't good in coverage, right? Perryman and whoever else has kind of come in. They're not fantastic, and their secondary is not fantastic. So we should be able to put up points. If we have any chance against a team, we should be able to score points against the Raiders. That's what we do. Just go out there, Herbert and Keenan and Carter and Everett and Eckler, and just put up 30 points.
Yeah.
That's the offensive key to victory. What do you think about the defensive side of the ball, Jackie boy?
Yeah, defensively, it's fairly simple for me. You've got to bracket Devontae Adams. Let's not have another Kelsey situation. Let's ensure that if he is dangerous when he gets a bit of space. So let's try to make those contested catches so he doesn't have a chance to use his legs. And don't go man to man down the field with him, because you're just putting the cornerback or the DB on an island, and he'll just absolutely roast him in the route that he's going to run. So bracket him, lessen the time where he's got a one-on-one matchup, and let's just not have another Kelsey situation. Derek Carr's not throwing at fucking anyone else.
No, let Matt Collins beat us, right? Blitz, run blitz, and double team Devontae. That's my thing. And if they want to win throwing the ball to fucking Keelan Cole or whoever else, cool. We'll lose that.
And
way.
also, keep Jacobs on the inside, please. Don't bust him outside, because he's got the power to break through those bad angles that some of our DBs take and linebackers take. So keep him on the inside as much as we can.
Yeah, I feel a lot of 12 personnel coming just to sort of mediate the nonsense. We did okay with two receivers. You usually have Everett chip off. But yeah, let's get it. All right, result predictions. I'm going to go first. I think the Chargers actually get home in this one, 23-20. We find a way to win. That's what we're doing. We're finding a way to win. And we get the most of Derek Carr. Throws a late interception to Asante Samuel Jr. Actually hangs on to one. So let's get it.
For me, 27-17 Chargers, and I think Staley outmanages McDaniels in the fourth quarter, and we end with the ball in victory formation.
I'll say very quickly, 30-27 Raiders win. I don't want to do this, but I think the Raiders win this one. I think we split the series with them. But I'm liking your energy and your vibes, because it's Raiders week and we say FTR.
It's also your wedding week, mate. We want to go to your wedding happy. Come on.
I know.
Come on, Chargers.
Okay, come on, Chargers. Let's go.
It's funny that family trust respect resonates quite strongly with a wedding as well.
Yes, that's very well said.
All right, well, that's all from us this week. Family trust respect. Let's FTR these bitches. I hope you all enjoy it, and we will see you next time on the Thunder
See you
Down Under
later.
Chargers podcast.
Bye-bye.
Rivers back pedals looking, firing. He's got Floyd turning. Got it. Zigzag. 10, 5, high step. Touchdown. San Diego.
Woo! Good night. Good night to all.